No, 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 no. Well, uh, all right. Hopefully, sound is coming through this time. At least, all the indicators say that sound is indeed coming through. So I gotta hope that that's actually happening. Assuming, assuming you can hear me. Happy Monday. Oh yeah, I can get back to. Let's see. Let me get my publisher going on here. Okay, here's where I am. I'm Escape is now. I don't know when. How long ago? I'm not going to waste time looking for it. I put it out a while ago, and I've been using it. Well, let's see. Hold on a minute. It's got to be about a year ago, plus maybe minus, maybe not quite a year ago, because I think I remember I was rushing to get it done to run at um, Claricon last year. So that would have been so I believe that was November 2024. And I think it was a success. I would judge it a success. Everyone had fun. And I've run it a few times since. Most of the time, we don't get through the whole thing. We get through this part that I'm in now, which is the dungeon part. I think I mentioned this on another stream, either on the main channel or over here, that you can kind of modulate how fast you get through it, which it can be handy once you kind of figure that part out. I may put in some specific advice, but basically, if I come back up here and I clean this up slightly, there's a ticking clock going on in this dungeon. And I guess spoilers for the adventure, obviously. I was a little bit wishy-washy in my original copy as to when to trigger these events. I've cleaned it up basically every turn, trigger an event. Some of the events are atmospheric. They're happening. They give you some atmosphere. They may, and I think they do help push the party to act potentially, but there's not a real effect. And then some of them have real effects. So, for example, the first one's just a slight tremor. So, okay, you get a little earthquake thing. Then you get a groaning sound. Then you get this wind that blows out all your candles and you can't relight them. Then the walls start to glow. Then this cultist who's in a dead cultist who's in the room you wake up in rises a zombie. Then there's a stronger tremor. Then this other thing happens. And I kind of counted down. Well, not kind of, I did. And I think I got to, let me see if I remember. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And this is kind of the end of it. So really, there's really 16 events. And then number 17, right? So if each hour is 6 turns, you're getting, 6, then 12, and then a little bit less. Maybe I'll add one in just to get a clean 18, so 3 hours worth of time. This last one is the worst because that's just things popping up. This is when you got to get out. What I found was with my original ticking clock, not really to the detriment of anything. It's one of those things that I think as you get more comfortable, as you're a comfortable GM, you'll realize that just because you goofed something up or forgot something, it doesn't really. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. I routinely forget to initiate some of these, and I think even now that it's every turn, I would probably still forget to initiate some of these, but that's okay. What I've discovered though is that the more often you're doing these, I think it's inevitably the party's going to catch on to yeah, we got to get out of here. So you can slow this down. If you want to have the party spend more time, slow it down. If you want them to try to get them out faster, you could speed it up. But I'll probably put a note in here to that effect. But I did clean these up, and I did just put every turn. But I think having a 3-hour fictional clock is pretty good. It means you've got, about, talking 16, 18 turns. I don't have the map in front of me. There's not that many rooms, but it also means that if you explore everything, you don't have it. You have to make choices, basically. If you wait till the very end to get out, down here, a lot of things are going bad. You could do that, but you're probably gonna have to make choices in terms of we can't see everything, which I think is also good. You got to figure it out. You could easily get out earlier than that, but you might be not under prep, but there's things to discover. You don't necessarily know what you're trying to discover, what you need to discover, but there are things there. This is the last of my Agua Fresca Jamaica for the working man. I should do it in my other channel, my non-gaming thing that I don't really do much with. I really like this Agua Fresca. It's I think it's a origin from Mexico, but basically it's a hibiscus infusion. When I've had it in Mexico and the various places that are Mexican cuisine restaurants and whatnot, they make it really sweet. You don't have to make it as sweet. I kind of like this one. I made a concentrate over the weekend, and of course the concentrate is pretty sweet, but then I watered down a bunch. So you get this kind of sweet and a little bit of tart, which I like. I should have refilled my glass before I started because now I'm gone. Now it's over. But it's a really easy. It's a really easy recipe. It's one of those things. I think that there's a lot out there, but my wife discovered a Mexican restaurant in the back of a market a couple of months ago. It's really good, and you buy I'd buy the Jamaica there to drink, and it's I don't know how much they charge, but between $5 and $7. Well, if you go to the market front of the store and you buy the bag of the dried hibiscus, that bag is $7, and now that I've made one batch of this, it's probably I'm gonna say maybe three. I'm gonna be able to get 3 batches of concentrate out of that. I've been drinking at a pretty good clip, but even then I'm getting multiple of these glasses out of it, whereas the restaurant charges $5 or $6 for one glass. I'm sure there's lots of stuff like that where it's like, boy, you just figure out how to do it at home. You think, why am I ever going to spend $7 at a restaurant ever again? Anyway, it's really good. And maybe not that I created the recipe or anything, but maybe I'll throw it out there because it's really tasty. And I don't know if people get, it's one of those things, maybe you have to go and experience it and just try it. And you're like, man, this is good. Why are people not drinking more of this or eating more of this? Hey, Ian. Well, right now I was just explaining I finished it, unfortunately, but I made a homebrew, literally home brewed, Jamaica Agua Fresca over the weekend, which is, it's basically a hibiscus infusion. It's not, you could say a hibiscus tea, but I guess I'm one of those people who's picky and it's like, it doesn't have any tea leaves in it, so I won't call it a tea. So I guess an infusion or a tisane, as the French might say. Though maybe tisane works as an English word also. But it's really good and it's really easy. And but I'm just I'm updating Escape Adventure, and I'm basically doing a really quick conversion to my Troupe system. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I was just kind of running through. One of the things I did is I've cleaned up the ticking clock at the front. I removed the wishy-washy language that's in there. I made these boxes a bit bigger. If you want to, I should probably make a separate page. I'll probably make a handout kind of page for it too, so that if you run it multiple times, you don't, if you only run this once, well, I guess, how often are people other than me? I don't know. I've had good luck with this at cons and gaming store games, but I don't know if anybody else other than me is going to run this multiple times, but I could make a separate handout of this with the event so you can check your boxes and not muck up your copy. But I just kind of cleaned it up. So now just every turn you do something, and I kind of rewrote the events a bit. I'm not going to go through them, but I did that. And then what was it? I've been kind of just cleaning up I forget where I was. I did these pages already. Where was I? The storeroom. I'm just kind of moving things around a little bit. Let's see. Room description's good. there's this weird thing. I don't know if other. Oh yeah, something else I need to do. Maybe we'll do that. I'll kind of run through this, and the other thing I'll do is I promised I would go and look at. There's a game jam, the Eternal game jam, and there's another one, and it looks fun. And a couple of people on the Discord expressed interest in doing it. They have some templates to make it really easy in terms of the typesetting part of it, but the what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to insert. Where's the insert? Text. No, there it is. I'm going right past it. But the problem with it is they're all in InDesign, and I think I should be able to get the InDesign, and I believe Affinity will read it. But the what they don't put in there, unfortunately, is they do not indicate any of the, like the page size or the margins, any of those kind of what is the document actually made of in the non-documents. So you have to. So they give you these nice templates, and I think there's a zip file of templates, which is great, but they don't put the file stuff because they want you to use the templates to make the things that they have a unified look and feel, which is nice, but they give you everything you need. Unfortunately, what they don't do is give it to you outside the templates in a way that if you don't have InDesign, you can read. So I can probably do that. Let's see. So something that's nice, obviously, is I don't need, just as I've been going through and doing some of these, I don't need to, I could really do, and I really could get rid of a bunch of this and just say undead. Human undead, which I might do it. I don't even really need, I don't know if I need the chaotic in there either. They're undead, but I'll leave it in there for right now. I don't really need the movement stuff because I'm pretty much doing abstract movement. So really, I think one of the things that I want to do more of is just, oops, I don't need that either, is really just simplify things. Like I think that you can just have a default. I guess what I'm saying is if you looked at it, a stat block, and said if you're just at the default, which let's say for movement is whatever humanoid movement is. Was it 30? Let's just say it's 30. Could be 40, whatever. You don't need to write down movement 40 for everything. And maybe some folks do this in their stat blocks already. But I'm just kind of coming around to doing it and saying, you know what, let's only put the things that are kind of, let's just do the exceptional stuff. If everything's kind of the same, well, then you don't need to do anything. And my system makes it even easier because I really don't, for this zombie undead, just telling it, hey, it's slow. And I write in here what it is. But, it's like it's like it's slow. If you need help understanding what that means, fine, it's slow. It goes last. But it does make things, and the conversion going to the system is really easy because unless there's a bunch of special abilities or something that I need to look at and consider, I'm basically just updating by deleting. Updating through deleting. What's going on here? A mix. Am I missing something? Why? I feel like there should be something here and there's not. Oh, because I think, wow, did I really? I guess I did. I got enough. I bought myself enough space that this whole thing moved over. Oh yeah, and I wasn't doing. Yeah, jump on them. don't know. I think masoned is a word. One thing with affinity, I don't know if it's just them or what, but I find that their spell check doesn't feel super accurate to me. Not that it's literally getting things wrong, but I think there's a lot of words that are actually words that affinity in its wisdom tells you, nope, not a word. I think masoned is a word. Maybe I should look it up because I use it. I don't think that, I mean, this might be the only time in this adventure, but I feel like I used it before. Let me check. Yeah. According to Miriam, to make my point for me, Merriam-Webster knows masoned, although it's saying it's yeah, I think I'm using it as an adjective. Yeah, newly masoned stone, adjective. Merriam-Webster, adjective, masoned. But affinity says, nope, not a word. So I'm going to have you learn that spelling. But it seems like I get this fairly often, probably more often than I should. And I think I might do with, I don't know if I really figured out or really decided something for morale. Part of me just thinks, just have them roll it. You know, just roll your hit dice and just kind of use that. But that doesn't, the one thing that doesn't do is it doesn't really give any circumstances. You don't get any real circumstantial things about it. So I might need to, whoops. What did I do? I did something. Might need to ponder that a bit. Let's see. I think for these stat blocks, I want them all to stick together. I'm slowly learning my way through affinity. I mean, I've been using it for a while, but you only, I don't know if, usually you learn something and you only kind of learn what you need to learn to get done what you need to get done. And then it's easier. So for example, in this case, it's easier. I have just one, this is very, very simply formatted, right? One thing, and you have these text frames, and everything in the text frame, right, goes in the text frame like that. Like, right? So the easiest thing to do is just drag your text frame around, and you can just drag it. But what you end up getting is, and that will work, but it's not flexible. And I've gotten better at more recently digging into things and try to do it in a more programmatic, definitive way and saying, yeah, I want these paragraphs to stay together. So every time there's a stat block, I don't want the stat block across 2 columns or across 2 pages. That to me is just annoying. I want it all in the room, together, and just make that rule. And that way it'll always work. If I decided to then, seeing these other things where I put rules because I had this. So that's another thing I did because it was just easier at the time, which I probably shouldn't have done, is when you're floating one thing around another. Sorry, not floating. You're wrapping one thing around another thing. And I didn't quite position it quite right. When you're wrapping one thing around another thing, there are a couple different ways you can do it. One is what you should do is what I did here is you set it to wrap around, and then you put your margins that you want in this wrapping. But what you can also do, and it may be easier, is to just put a margin on the text box, and it will do it visually. When you print it out, look at the PDF, there's no difference. It's exactly the same, but there are obviously what's the word I'm looking for? Differences in the flexibility. So by putting the margin on the text, on this text box, that is a brittle situation. When I move this, that now we have this weird space that's there. Whereas by putting it in the right spot, which is over here, when I move this and I put it somewhere else, that it's got the same spacing. Yeah. So some of that is because when you're on, especially, I remember I was working on this thing. God, what was I originally at Claricon? Man, I was working on it. I don't think I wasn't in a typeset version. I think it was just a plain text version. I was working at in a cafe. Poor Daniel, sick in the room. And I walked all over this outside this suburb of Toronto, found this cafe, sat in there with my iPad, and it was running it up. Hey, Croco. And but I think that was a non-typeset one. In either case, when I was, you're in a hurry to get something done, you often don't think about that. When maybe you should. Maybe you should. And I was inconsistent with these little double daggers, which I like as a nice little touch, but I wasn't consistent with them. Yeah, all right, let me just go through and do all these, and then I'm probably going to come back. And then I'm going to pause. So I'm going to finish, because I don't, like I was saying, getting rid of these things simplifying these to my system is super easy, because I'm literally just deleting things. And then, I was going to just use axe. What is that? I think I will get rid of that. Just say, the assumption is they're human, I think, unless something comes up. They're human. So I guess that other point I was talking about is, instead of writing everything in there, if it's the default, know your defaults. And this is especially true if you're doing it for yourself. Obviously, I'm doing this. This is something that people can buy. So there's maybe more of I might be thinking more in terms of making it kind of super clear for people. But for me, well, it's a zombie horse. The zombie horses, Croco, they are chaos. Chaos reigns with the zombie horses. I don't need the number of attacks. Let me see. Oh, it's not strong. Good. They like horsing around, ba-dum-bum. Yep. Indeed. All right, I am going to get rid of these. Undead human, I think. Or no, I don't even need to. I'm just going to say undead. I don't need to say normal human. I'm just going to say cultist. I think there's a lot of things, as I'm kind of thinking about this for myself. I think there's a lot of things like that's kind of my idea of just saying, I think one of the things I've tried to do with my system, right, is kind of try to get as much just sort of, I don't know, not human, like, what's the word I want to say? Just normal language, conversational language, instead of like, and so just trying to say, like, hey, they're, like the names I tried to give things in terms of what you're doing. It's just kind of the name of the thing, right? So I try to say like, hey, you use effort, you do this, you do that. And I think, for example, since I'm not concerned really about specific movement rates, it's kind of one of those things that, I mean, I was watching so I did make it through that first, draw steal. Right. And in that kind of game, your specific movement rates and all that stuff is kind of important. I get it. Right? I wouldn't suggest it's not, because there's all those push pulls and, they did a lot of that in the game. There was a lot of that, like they're pulling, and it was neat. I wonder how it's going to scale up. But my point being that in that kind of game, I get it. Right? You how many squares you can move, and being in this kind of tactical grid, that stuff is meaningful. But in the kind of theater of the mind stuff that I'm doing, it's not, because I don't care. Because we can just roll, for example, you're fighting 6 zombies and someone's like, I'm going to go into it, I want to pinball them, whatever. I might say, okay, we'll roll 2d6, or it's not 2d6, roll a d6 and whatever. Okay, that's how many, because the way they're spaced around this room, that's how many you can get. Something like that. It's super, it's easy. And I think when people, I get in those arguments, people like saying, how could you ever play these games theater of the mind? Like, what if you cast a fireball? Like, you just do that. Like, oh, okay, you're trying to cast a fireball in this room? Well, maybe it might fill up the whole room, because fireball had a pretty big radius of effect anyway. But if it didn't, you might go, well, this is how we're going to do it. Right? We're going to roll so many dice to figure out how many of these guys are in there, or something like that. That's it. Crocker says roll a d6 for the number of d6. You could do that too. A point being is you just kind of play. You can play fast and loose with it. That said, that's not going to work for every system. And I totally understand why in something like Draw Steel, but what I was going to say is maybe I'll even just do this. I just think that if I'm playing this, okay, I'm just for myself. So I'm looking at this, right? Zombie horses. Here's kind of what I'm stumbling around getting to. I got these zombie horses. Right? To me, it's sufficient to say that, yeah, they're how fast are they? They're as fast as a horse. That's how much they can move. Because I get it. I think about, well, how do humans move? How fast can horse? And now remember, if we're talking overland travel over a whole day, the distance between what the horses could travel at a walk or whatever their everyday travel speed is not very different from a person. This is one of the secrets of our ancestors back in the day, why they were able to do things they were able to do, is because, yeah, a wildebeest or a buffalo could run. They get to stampeding. Yeah, they're running. They're gone over the horizon. Bye-bye. See you. But on their normal rate, when they're traveling a long distance, we can walk faster because we don't have to take breaks all the time. Like, we can walk. There are just many reasons why. Yeah, there are being able to walk on our up on our hind, on our 2 legs and be able to walk. We can easily keep pace with them over that long haul. But we're not doing that. We're in combat, or in a potentially combat in close quarter situation. So I think in that scenario, yeah, as a dog. In that scenario, the horse, the dog, they're going to be faster. But me as the referee, do I need, given my type of game, given this kind of theater of the mind, we're kind of waving a lot, do I need to know in footage how fast the dog goes? No, all I really care is it's faster than you. If you and the dog are running, the dog's catching you. And we know this. No player's going to go, that's unfair. It's a dog. Like, have you outrun a dog ever? No. Do you know anybody who's ever outrun a dog? No. Or certainly a horse? No. So no one's going to argue with you if you're like, well, you can go, but that dog's going to catch you. Even giving you a head start, that dog's catching you sooner rather than later. And I think everyone's going to kind of go like, sure, fine. Something else, you might go, hey, wait a minute, why is this thing fast? Well, maybe it's got a special ability, whatever. But to me, it's like, I just need to know. I mean, look, really, I don't even need to know this. But because it's a zombie, someone might say, well, zombies just move super slow. And this is like, no, they don't. They act last in initiative because I'm just kind of following the BX sort of rule for zombies. But they're not. Their actual rates of movement are not actually slow. Croco looked up the AD&D movement rates for some overland traveling. Oh, let's see. Unencumbered 12 miles per half day on rough terrain, or on rough terrain 15. Oh, I see. 12 miles on rough terrain per half day. That seems like a lot. I mean, it's not a terrible lot. I feel like that's kind of like in my kind of system, that would come up to that 24 miles per day would be probably road based, not rough terrain based. But I feel like my rates are kind of slower than others, though I don't think it matters over much. I mean, traveling those long distances, I know you see different rates in different. I've looked at a bunch of blog posts and things. I wish I had more. I don't know. There probably are some good first. What's the word? First-hand accounts. I'm sure there are somewhere for movement rates. I'd like to see more of those. But I think the thing is oftentimes I feel like with those that you're talking basically unencumbered people. But I don't know. But it's just funny because everyone seems to have kind of somewhat differentiated. Sometimes it's just a slight difference. Sometimes it's a lot different rates. 24 miles per day is pretty standard. Yeah, I think I have that for if you're kind of I have a pretty good road. Maybe you're in the plains, you get that much. Once you start getting into woods and hills and things like that, you're not getting 24 miles a day. But yeah, that's probably a pretty good. I don't think anyone's going to complain one way or another with something like 24 miles. But some people get 36. Some people, and I think it tends to go with what is your experience and where you put the numbers for, and that kind of will seems to be this sort of factor of like, well, where's your number at? I think it's just you just want to be the big thing is you just want to be consistent and you want to stay within stay within your vibe, kind of like what are you, how is your game running? What's the tone? What's the tone of your game? If you kind of stay within all that, I think you'll be good. You'll be good. All right, so I think this is another one where, yeah. So I'm going to move the barracks. So in this case, so here's an interesting one. Right? I was just talking about, well, should I make all this stuff go on the second page? In this case, I don't want to do that because I'm not trying to change the way all this stuff with shares, styles, text flows. I just don't feel like I need to have this on there. Now we'll see. Maybe I could put a little piece of art in there or something if find one. And I think this one I'll put it here, I think. Or maybe not. I kind of like, if I can get everything on one page, I'd love to do that. I don't know if I can, though. Let's see. So I got the barracks. Got the room descriptions. Right now. I don't think, yeah. That. All good. All small. Okay, let's see. I'm going to be able to get rid of some Hothmall the Bleak, self-named. I kind of thought that was nice. I don't have a I don't have. This is the one where I'm going to have to think about because I don't have a sorcerer. Or sorry, I don't have a cleric. Though I'm going to be coming up with one basically, but it's not going to be a cleric so much as a priest. Here we'll call him cultist. I don't need that. Armor is chainmail, which in my system I think gives you an AC of 2 because I'm doing the pseudo ascending AC. Though I use a Bernie, so I'll change that. I don't need the saves. Yeah, the attack is fine because I like to know what weapon they have, but I don't need the D6 on the mace. Don't need the movement. I'll keep the morale. Here's where I'm going to have to change things. I might need to come. That might be it. Well, it's a fun add-on to put in. Maybe I'll make him a necromancer, and I'll add that in as a. I might need to come back to him. Crocker says, speaking of names, tangentially, I wanted to test the book about names that Matt Finch released. Might buy that sometime. Oh, what's the book of names? What's Rocco, tell me more. I'm not aware of what Matt Finch's. What's this? What is this book of names you speak of? Because I don't know. Whoops. Unknown to me. Whoops, no, 1. Dun, 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 dun. Don't need to move. Just trying to get that on one line. I'm Croco. I need you to tell me more about this book of names. Very sword and sorcerer inspired, like most of his stuff. Basically helps you create. What's it called? Basically helps you create names of that flavor for various real world inspired cultures, stuff like that. Yeah, let me know the name. Remember, she's a bounder. Nope, I don't need ass halfling anymore. Bounder. She has no attack. Oh, I didn't give her a morale. Give her 10. Whoops. The Nomicon. Okay, well let me hold on, let me save this. I wonder if I want to give her some extra perks. The hunter. The hunter. I'll leave that around. I'll leave that alone for right this minute. Is that all of it? Nope. See, I did it again where I put the border on put the margin on the thing. All right, yeah. I'd love to be able to get all this barrack stuff on one page. Not sure if I can, though. All right, let me put this aside for right now, and let's do the other thing, which is, let's head to the Discord. Let's go to Fun with Fang. Here are the templates. Yeah, we're going to visit the site. Okay, now we're going to go. Got on a Google Drive. Last time it told me. Oh, okay. All right, here we go. Oh, they do have it. So, okay, well, this is going to be easier than peasier. Because they actually already have it in Affinity. They just didn't advertise it. All right, so let's, we're going to unzip it here. Yeah, unzip you. Hang outside. And we can do a couple things. We can look at the template. And we could look at what the InDesign looks like. That Nomicon sounds cool, by the way. Why didn't you open? Hello? Oh, there you go. Okay. Document contains missing fonts, which is, what is that font? Let me see. Hold on a minute. If I go to pre-flight, no, it's not there. Is there any fonts in here? No. Does the website tell me anything about the fonts? No. All ready to go. All right, fonts, storybook. Is that just a... All right. Go up. Storybook. Install. Croco says, always nice to have resources for names. Yeah, I use them. I have a couple. I have a random generator I use. It's actually my hireling generator that I made ages and ages ago, and I'll just use that to find names. But they're names of kind of a quirky, particular sort. They're not themed for anything in particular. All right, so here is our page. Here's the layout for this booklet. So I guess, well, let me back up. Because in case you haven't been following, so I've been doing, as you may have noticed, I've been doing a bunch of different jams. There's a game jam for this game called Fang, or no, it hasn't. No, sorry, it's got a. That's not it. The name is for Fangal Sahala, which Ian says, anything for that keeps me from ranking Steve the Guard again? Yeah. Although Steve the Guard's pretty cool. All right, so I won't even try this. Fangal Sahala, and I'm sure that's pronouncing correctly, is the Swedish word for dungeon. And it's a really cool, I mean, look at this stuff. It's oozing a kind of a tone, which is basically fairy tale meets IKEA kind of thing. Really cool. An interesting layout, right? And so easy to learn. You can download it, name your own price. There's the art version for $10. You can get it printed, or you can get a printed version. So very cool. So now there's as is with everything these days, there is and there's a die roller. That's really nice too. there's a jam associated. So in the jam, it's called the Fun with Fang or Fong. Come with Fong. Fun with the Fong Adventure Jam is your chance to design and sell your own adventure for Fungo Sahala. It's all about creating adventures for under third-party license. It means you can design, sell, and profit. Get inspired by Fong's world of bold, minimal, and a nostalgic aesthetic of 1960s children's books and IKEA design. Okay. Just join the jam and then deposit it. They've got some prizes. $300, $200, $100 IKEA gift cards, $50 IKEA gift cards. Lots of different resources. Runs until September 11th. I just, as an American person, only the September 11th. Just I must be. I wonder, for Pearl Harbor and some of those other days, the dates. I mean, the thing is with September 11th, the holiday is also the name of the day, so you're really hard to get past it. But anyway, it's September 11th, beginning of September, or a week and a half into September, just for adventures. And you can do all, whatever, you got all kinds of stuff. And so they're nice enough as a part of this, because and it's a really good idea, actually, which is they want to keep a certain tone. So how do you help people achieve the tone and just give them some stuff? So they've given you this template that will basically get you pretty close to at least something that will fit in their design ethos, which I think is cool. And here it is inside of here. And let's see. So we've got text styles. We got basic paragraph. Now I think, whoops, which I guess we just bring our font in here. Okay. Huh. All right. Oh, they could. I was thinking, did they have text styles for everything? But they didn't. So they didn't provide styles for this. But you can easily make this a header, which has storybook, so that you can make all these headers so that you don't have to. And I think they said that their basic paragraphs use Verdana. I don't know if I have Verdana on this system. I know it's usually standard, but it used to be pretty standard, but I don't know if I actually have it. Oh, I do. And then voila. Put in your own content and go. Now, the thing is that they don't say is this is an interesting page setup. And that is, I think, Ian says, we had so much political, quote-unquote, marketing around the specific day. It's been drilled in our brains for the past 24 years. Yeah, and look, it was a horrific event. It was for a few generations, that's our Pearl Harbor, our, insert day of horrific event. But yeah, by giving it the name, by making the name, but it's not, it used to be Pearl Harbor Day, right? But it was named after the event, not named after the day. What was December 7th, I think, Pearl Harbor Day. So you just see the date. I just see the date and I just kind of cringe. Ugh. But obviously, if they're from Sweden or outside the U.S., then that's just another day. Just like, they may have some day that they really hold dear for good or bad reasons, and I am totally unaware of it. All right, so let's go to the pages and go to the master pages. Actually, I don't really need to do that. I can go to document setup. Okay, so I'm going to write this. I'm in the chat. I promised. I'll pull this aside. Okay, so here we go. And I will, so we got, all right, so the page dimensions are, basically it's a digest size pages, but landscape digest pages, 8.5 inch times 5.5 inch, right? All right, what else? Let's see. Now our margins. They're saying no margins. Are you sure? There's definitely margins in here. They just don't have it set up as margins. They have a bleed though. Bleed is basically this area between the end of the page and out here. So basically, this is only going to come into play if you're printing. If you're printing, what ends up happening is if you want edge to edge. So here. Okay, let me explain it like this. If your home printer, right? You can't print. It can't print from one edge of the page to the other. So if you wanted to print something edge to edge, you would get a piece of paper up to the limits of your printer, obviously, and put the size of whatever thing you were going to do in there that fits in the paper, inside the printable margins of the paper. Then once you've printed the thing, you then cut. So if you were printing something that was, you could print, let's say you wanted to print a large photograph, you couldn't print on your home printer. I mean, some photo printers can do edge to edge, but most printers can't. And I think I haven't really messed around with it, but I think there are limits to the edge-to-edge capabilities of photo printers or the type of paper, whatever, just for your normal thing. You might say, okay, I'm not going to do 8.5 by 11 because that would be edge-to-edge, but I can do 8 by 10.5. And there's that part. But because what you're trying to do is you might say, okay, I'm within the printer's margins, but I'm going to make my image a bit bigger to make sure that however I'm cutting it, I have some wiggle room. If I just make it just to that line, wherever I want it to, and either the printer goofs a little bit, or I just go, more likely I'm cutting it, something bad happens, then you end up not getting it. So the bleed is kind of like the safe space of anything you want kind of edge to edge, you're going to print past the borders, because it's going to, when you send it to the printer, it's going to print it on a bigger piece of paper, and therefore it has a little bit of a margin for error on when it's cutting it down to your final size. Does that make sense? That's what the bleed is. And in this case, it's 1/4 of an inch on all sides. And though this is probably the thing that if you're on something like Word, because part of the reason I'm doing this is a couple folks that don't have any kind of publishing software. So if you're doing this in Word, I don't know if you can do a bleed. You might just have to put it out to the end. If you're just going to do it as a PDF, it doesn't matter really. It's only really something if you wanted to print it at a printer. All right, I'm going to do this because this is I'm not sure. It's great that they gave these, but they didn't. I'm just going to put some guides in here, so I can't see, because these are really your kind of margins, basically. And just so we get the columns. All right, so these margins are, which one's 3.8? It must be that one. Yeah. All right, so 8.5. So margins, all right, so the inner margin, so, all right, so 7.3, so that's 8.5, that's 1/2 inch. I guess it's 7.6, so 0.9 inches. Am I getting that correctly? Right? 7.6 plus 0.9. I think that's right. I believe that sounds right. And then the inside is 1/2 inch, or the outside margin, I should say. Outside 0.5 inches. And then is that really 5.147? I guess so. And then the top margin is 0.75 inches. And then the bottom margin is, let's see, so 5.5. Oh, boy, they really had to. All right, 5.5 minus 5.147 is equal to 0.333 inches. Those are our margins. Okay, now the next thing is the columns. What is this? So it starts at 3.8. It's 4.3. So if I were going to do this use actual columns, we have 2 columns. And the gutter between the columns would be 0.6. 0.5, half an inch. No. Oh, you know, it's because I don't have the margin set up. All right, let me see if I can do this in the margins now so that this makes sense. So here we're gonna go to the margins. We'll see if I can do this. So I had said the inner margin was 0.9. Oh yeah, I gotta turn that off. Outer margin was 0.5. Top 0.75. Bottom 0.353. Hey, look at that. All right. It works. And see, now I get it. I didn't put anything on the content on that page, but now it works. Oops. Get rid of those. I really can get rid of these. I don't need these anymore either because I've got the columns and things set up. Yeah, delete. Delete, 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 delete. Close. Booyaka. So there you go. All right. So for the Fun with Fung Adventure Jam, I posted. It's in the Discord. I've posted the page dimensions and everything. You can grab the storybook, which is pretty. The storybook font. And yeah, that's it. We can go creating. Uh-oh, this one didn't. I think that they goof on that, or did I goof on that? Theirs are not. Oh, interesting. What did they do here? You know, one of the things is with this is, you know, because I've been doing my own layout stuff, I don't really get to see what other people are doing. So now I'm kind of curious as to what is this? What's this? What's this? So is that the numbers? Oh, huh. I wonder why they did it like that. And so okay. Oh, interesting. I see. I would not have done this at all like this. I would have used a table. I wonder what the advantage is of doing it this way. Feels more This to me reminds me of the kind of hacks I used to do way back in the day with things like before even InDesign existed. When I used to, way back then, I actually did use some desktop publishing stuff, starting with the venerable Quark Express, which I remember I pulled up once, just kind of as a funny kind of thing. And It was bad. But when you do goofy things like this to try to get content looking a certain way, because you didn't have tables, you had to do things with all kinds of things with tabs to try to get content in a table-like form, and then you might throw these different. So what they're doing here is they're to get this shaded spots, they're throwing graphics underneath that are just having that different kind of shading on them. The thing is you can do that with a table, but I'm wondering if you lose it. I wonder if I redid this as a table, could I get the same formatting, or would it be a super pain? I end up, because I definitely do with tables. I will do something where I shade alternate rows, and you can have different text form. You can definitely do this, but it's interesting, and then you don't need to worry, because this is your sort of hand lining it up, basically, which to me seems like a uber pain when I could just use the boxing. But like I said, it's always fun to see how other people do things. Is this a table? No, this is also not a table. Wow, pretty darn wild. That's really slick. I had no idea. Yeah, see, this one lines up the way it's supposed to. But then pages 4 and 5, oh no, they do. Where did the layout start to go off? This one does. I wonder if there's now it makes me think if there's an underlying grid that they're doing. I don't know. How wide is that? That is, how wide is it? Width says it's 507. I'm gonna have to do some digging around here. I'm again curiouser and curiouser. But it might be just easier to just get these to fit in the columns, but maybe they don't want that spacing so much. I might need to have a couple of different layouts. I don't know. We'll see. I'm getting wrapped up. It's just fascinating to see somebody else's work in this way. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, folks. Well, it's up on the, if you're, I know for the very few people who are both A, on the Discord, and B, interested in Fun with Fung, you can grab my measurements. They are posted. They're posted. Posted in the jam thread. So they're there. At some point, maybe we can get some. You know what might be another tool? It might be actually a better if you're interested and you don't have Affinity, you don't have InDesign. I think using a slideshow kind of thing, like what do you call it? The making slides, like Google whatever. I forget the name of whatever Google's thing is, or PowerPoint. I think you might have more control over some of that stuff. Yes, thanks, Ian. PowerPoint, or whatever the Google version is, or some other free one, or even something like Canva. You might be able to get some slides going. The only thing you'll have to keep in mind is that if you can't do the slides so that they're side by side, because you see here these softwares are in spreads. So you start off on that right side, and then you go, even if you end up printing it out in one page per page. Oh, Google Slides. Yeah, Google Slides or PowerPoint, whatever. The spacing is for the inside is different than the outside. It's not a left to right thing. So you see here on the spread, these two insides have the wider margins than the outside, and that's going to change depending on which page you're on. So you'll want to look at that. You'll want to look at that. I think I don't know where these backgrounds are. Are they in there? There's a winter texture. Are those in the zip file? Hold on a minute. I just want to see. Are these in the zip file? Yes, they are. So if you go and you grab the zip file, you can grab the backgrounds to use them. It has a link to grabbing the fonts from the fonts. It's free. That's Storybook. And then you're just good to go. So I'm going to try to do this. I don't know if I'm going to make something new. Well, I mean, I don't really have anything pre-developed. So I'll probably just try to make something fun. And maybe I'll do one as a Fong version and one as a Troupe version for myself. But, you know, hopefully get folks to do it. I probably will do... I mean, I kind of keep getting into this where I want to encourage folks to try their hand at doing these different kind of jams. Like this RPG a day one's a fun one. If you're not interested in making adventures and showing them to anybody, that's fine. You could do the RPG a day one or something similar where you're just like, you know, you're writing blog posts or something. I really think they're fun. I really think they can get you. I mean, I know they've helped me just get things done and you get to be kind of part of this community for this time frame where you can come together. Oftentimes there's either Discords for them or areas in Discords where people are talking back and forth. It's just a way to kind of engage with the community. And I know for a lot of folks who don't get to actually game as much as they would want to or at all, this is a way to get some kind of game activity when you can't do the actual thing, right? You know, you can't play baseball because it's raining outside, but you can practice swinging the bat in the garage or whatever. You can practice, you know what I mean? You could do something. And I think they're a lot of fun. And I oftentimes think if you can just kind of crank away a little bit, which is that discipline thing that I struggle with mightily, but you know, I understand that, hey, if I can just kind of keep it in check, do a little work every day, I don't think that the deadlines are onerous. It's not, I think that most people say, well, I don't have time. It's like, well, maybe you don't have the kind of prioritized time, but I think you probably do have a couple of minutes every day to write something down that at the end of the day becomes an adventure over 30 days. If you just write a little bit every day, like those, you know, year-long challenges, hey, just write something, spend 5 minutes. I think you probably all have 5 minutes. You know, it's that discipline of actually doing it. But I think it's rewarding. I had some comments pop up on my Appendix N adventure, which actually was kind of surprising because the couple comments were positive, you know, and I think they saw what I was sort of trying to do. I still don't know if it really works or not, but they saw what I was trying to do. So I appreciate that. And yeah, you could just, you know, interface with folks, meet folks. Do something gamey if you can't do other game stuff. And I know a lot of you folks have games coming out of your ears, so maybe you're like, man, I got all the gaming I can handle, and I can't handle any more. Then, hey, fair enough. But a lot of us don't. And these game jams are a good way to fill in the gap. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out while I putter away on this. I'll probably be puttering more on this later on in the week. But, and I got to keep doing more RPG days because I'm going to have to double up on a couple days to catch up. So I got that going for me. But the RPG Day one I think is also good, just as an aside, is use it for your campaign. You got stuff you probably need to world build. Use these prompts. You can kind of do anything you want with them. So world build a little bit. It's kind of like a little mini year-long challenge, only it's for 30 days. So you get a taste of it. All right, enough about that. Have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, everybody. And I'll talk to you later. Bye now.